Hello and welcome back to Capitol Report. I'm your host, Jason Phelps, and today I'm joined again by Representative Jim Davnie. Nice
Hello.
to see you again.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We have a busy session this year again. Two of the main things we're trying to do is solve this budget deficit and get Minnesotans back to work. And in regards to the deficit, you were part of a tax committee meeting last night where you passed a $105 million cut bill.
That's right.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Each of the policy areas are, at this point, going through and looking at where they can cut. Because we do have a $922 million budget deficit. There will be conversation about what role revenue will take in solving that budget deficit, but we do know that cuts have to be part of that as well. The governor proposed cutting aids to local governments, to cities and to counties, by $220 million. Local government aids have been a real target for the governor over the last number of years. Whenever he's had the opportunity to unallot, to take money away from programs that the legislature had given, he has targeted local government aid as a place to go. That certainly helps account for why in the last 9 years, since 2001 in the property tax bill that was passed that year, property taxes in Minnesota have gone up 72%. It's pretty stunning. But property taxes are now the single greatest source of government revenue in the state of Minnesota now, for cities and counties primarily. 72% increase, largest form of taxation we now have, larger than income taxes, larger than sales taxes. Last night, the House Tax Committee passed a bill to, unfortunately, because we have to, cut additional local government aids. But we did it to a much smaller amount than the governor, $105 million over the state rather than $220, and did it in a fairer way that spreads the cuts across the state. The governor's actions the last several years have focused more on the metro area and making the metro area carry the bulk of the burden. This is a fairer way across the state in the way we approached it.
Not to mention the fact that Governor Pawlenty likes to talk about how he never does any cuts to public safety and public services, but local government aid, a lot of that goes to the very same things. Am I correct?
Exactly. No, you've got it, Jason. In Minneapolis, it goes into the general fund. That pays for pothole repair and street maintenance, buys fire trucks and police cruisers, pays for the salaries for city employees, whether it's the fireman or the firefighter or the police officer, or everybody else who does the public health for the city and all those basic core local government functions.
In our last couple of minutes, let's segue into jobs a little bit.
Sure.
We just learned this week that a binding bill was passed, and it's going to put between 13,000 and 14,000 Minnesotans back to work.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm pleased that the governor signed the bonding bill. He returned to the state in order to do that, which was good. He trimmed it significantly. In fact, he line item vetoed projects down to below the dollar figure that he had proposed we bond for. Higher education took the majority of the hits in terms of his vetoes. That's unfortunate given the emphasis that we know we need to put on particularly young people getting college degrees and setting themselves up for their careers, but also for folks who are beyond that immediate college, out of high school sort of age, who need to reconnect with education to retool, get some new skills. He cut programs, cut a proposal for Minneapolis Community and Technical College, cut other ones. You indicated when we segued over to this topic that it's expected to create 13,000 to 14,000 jobs. We've been looking at 20,000 to 21,000 jobs. Those are good, well-paying, middle-class construction jobs that provide people the chance not only to put construction workers back to work, but heck, if I'm back at work, then I can go and buy the kids some new clothes at that store. We can go out to dinner and celebrate at another store. We can spread that money around throughout the communities. And we're losing a chunk of that because of the governor's vetoes.
And not to mention the fact that when you finish construction and you have buildings at universities and colleges that would be able to teach students and train professors and all that. That would be a lot more.
The jobs that will go on inside those buildings after the jobs of building those buildings. Spot on, Jason.
All right, well, we're just about out of time. I know that you always like to talk to your constituents. What's the best way for them to reach you?
You know, increasingly people are choosing email, and that's just fine. We get some phone calls into the office. Don't get a lot of those old-fashioned letters. I read them when we get them, but it's been interesting, people just transitioning more and more to email. So maybe if you want that little more personal thing, write me a letter.
All right. Well, we're all out of time on Capitol Report. We'll see you again next time. Thank you.